Carl Stalling was an American animation composer whose prolific work established many major conventions throughout animation. Today we will be taking a look at his life and the impact his music has had on the animation industry. This is Carl Stalling.
Carl Stalling, born in Lexington, Missouri, was an American film composer in the early 1900s. He was also a musical director for cartoons produced by Walt Disney and Warner Bros. Stalling's love for music started when he began playing the piano at age 6. This would lead to his job as a theater conductor and organist who would accompany silent films of the era. This job would be the starting point of his entire career in the animation industry.
By chance, Stalling happened to meet and befriend a young animator by the name of Walt Disney. After witnessing one of Stalling's performances and seeing him seamlessly connect popular music with his confident improvisation, Disney approached Stalling with an offer to arrange music for Disney's cartoons. During his time with Disney is when the term Mickey Mousing was created. This is when a character's actions on screen are synchronized with the musical composition.
An example of this would be footsteps and gunshots, stuff like that.
This emphasizes the action and brings humor to the short.
My, weren't there a lot of skunks in here?
Mickey Mousing would become a key element to Stalling's style as a composer. Through this partnership with Disney and his work on many of their animated shorts, Stalling would gain the necessary skills to lead him to join Warner Bros. Animation as the director of music in 1936.
Now let's talk about Stalling's time at Warner Bros. And the functions established in his compositions.
The cartoons produced at Warner Bros. Were short mischief-driven gags. They were short centers of a generic setup, so an example of that would be the Wild West. They had rapidly changing musical cues, which used the building block approach. This is where Carl Stalling set brief cues that conveyed the cartoon's mood before the next gag.
Although his musical cues were short, they were significant in anticipating the moments or the idea before they came along in the cartoon.
Meep, meep.
Another term that comes up is a stinger, and a stinger is a sudden loud accent in the music that is usually intended to coincide with an action on screen to reveal the reaction of an actor or to startle the audience. It's like with gunshots, things falling, things rapidly hitting other characters.
Cartoons were played in movie theaters, and the Warner Bros. Actually capitalized on publishing houses, so there were multiple revenues of income garnered through publishing, licensing, sheet music sales, performances, and recordings, and the radio play, all going towards Warner Bros. This could be challenging, and there was some tension among the cartoonists as they could only use Warner Bros. Songs, and this was facilitated by the producer Leon Schlesinger. Eventually, as time went on, when Carl Stalling joined the Warner Bros. Team, he had more creative freedom because Warner Bros. Owned those rights.
At Warner Bros., Stalling would have his fill of popular music at his disposal to use in his compositions. This signature style of blending pop music with his original music cues would become synonymous with Warner Bros. And animation as a whole.
The use of both original and popular scores were utilized not only to establish the setting and the mood or emotion, but were also emphasizing the actions of the characters in order to create a comedic effect.
Meep, meep. Meep, meep, meep.
Stalling relied heavily on popular music in his compositions, although many of his colleagues thought he was a better composer than that. This was individualistic to Stalling and paved the way for his own style as a composer.
He also utilized the idiosyncratic method of scoring sound cartoons. This is where he catered his musical style, specific cartoon director he worked with at the time.
And he was wonderful. And before you started the picture, at least for me, I knew very little about music. I would go in and go through the entire picture with him and get the tempos. Well, all I knew then was to put, if a big accent came, I learned to put it on a downbeat, whatever it was, and so on. But it was all of our pictures were laid out to musical terms.
He also utilized the synchronization of music, which details the basic outline of a cartoon that was detailed in a storyboard. Stalling would work with the director and create the timing for each scene. Synchronization was difficult due to the quick cut scenes, but it became a part of Warner Bros. Individualistic style because of Stalling.
One of Stalling's major innovations was the implementation of a click track during recording sessions,
which is an earpiece that functions as a metronome for musicians so they can follow the beat while they play.
While the click track is often not the first thing that comes to mind when talking about Stalling's legacy, it is still an important part of history of recording music that the world should remember Stalling for.
Carl Stalling would work in the animation industry for more than 30 years, with over 600 film score credits to his name. He would work to help create some of the most memorable animated films of all time until his retirement in 1958. While he might have been unnoticed in his time, we now remember Carl Stalling for his creativity, originality, the conventions he helped establish in animation, and innovations in recorded music. This was Carl Stalling.